Congratulations on making a very important investment in the future of your four-wheel drive vehicle. Time and corrosion are the enemies of metal, and that's why we've designed this fiberglass body replacement for your Jeep. A fiberglass body will handle weather and extreme climates and should last indefinitely. This video program has been filmed specifically for a 1976 or newer CJ5. Your vehicle may differ and therefore require more specific instructions. If you have any questions, please contact 4-Wheel Drive Hardware directly. Four-Wheel Drive Hardware was founded in 1977. Our kits are the result of years of experience and extensive testing, both in the shop and in the field. Your kit was designed and fabricated right here at our shop in Columbiana, Ohio, where quality has always been our #1 goal. In addition to making and selling Jeep body kits, we also offer complete customizing and conversion service for those who lack the time or the skill to perform the work themselves. The purpose of this video presentation is to show you step by step how to disassemble your Jeep body and assemble the fiberglass replacement. While particular specifications may vary slightly and each Jeep body will pose its own degree of difficulty, this video should provide you with a good idea of what the job will require and how best to prepare and begin. These are the basic tools required. However, other tools may be needed as you progress. Safety should be your first concern. Be sure to wear protective gloves and mask when working with fiberglass. The material will shed and can be harmful to skin or eyes. If you need to weld or use a cutting torch, also be certain to protect your skin and face. Now, you must disassemble the Jeep, removing or repairing old and worn parts. As you go, you should save your old bolts in a container. First, drain all fluids from the radiator and the engine block. Now, remove the seats. Next, the hood must be unfastened and removed. Disconnect and remove the battery. Remove the battery box. Again, be sure to save your bolts. Take off the junction block for the fuse box. Disconnect the headlight wires. Remove the solenoid. Mark the wires or use tags for quick reconnection. Disconnect the wires to the engine at the junction block. Do not remove the wires from the engine itself. Remove the strut rods from the grille to the firewall. Remove the front fenders. If it is possible, remove and save the lower fender braces. Disconnect the radiator hoses. Remove the grille, but leave the radiator tied to the grille. Don't separate the parts unless their condition warrants replacement. Remove the serial plate if state law permits this. Some states do not permit removal of the serial plate, and you should check with your state's licensing authorities first. Disconnect the steering shaft on the steering column only. You might have to tap the shaft with a hammer to loosen. Remove the clutch linkage and shaft. This is necessary only on the CJ5 and 7 standard shift transmission. If the vehicle is an automatic, remove the shifter linkage to the transmission at the steering column. Remove the cover plate for the steering column and disconnect the steering column wires. Be sure to mark or tag the wires. Remove the retaining plate from the steering column to the firewall. Once everything is disconnected, the steering column should pull out easily. Remove the entire steering column. Move the windshield forward. Have an assistant hold the windshield or brace it to protect the glass. Remove the dash. Now you can remove the plate for the pedal assembly. Do not disconnect the wiring from the instrument panel. Remove the wiring harness from above the pedal assembly. Disconnect the heater cables on the heater. Remove the junction block and fuse box. Disconnect the wiring harness that runs to the rear of the vehicle. Disconnect the dimmer switch wire. Be sure to remove the wiring from the heater to the heater switch. Remove the wiring from the windshield wiper to the wiper switch. Remove the master brake cylinder. If your vehicle is equipped with hydraulic clutch, remove the master clutch cylinder. You can tie it to the engine for safekeeping. Do not remove the brake or the hydraulic clutch lines. Remove the brake pedal assembly. Be very careful with the clutch pedal as it is spring-loaded. Remove the emergency brake cable. Depress the pedal first and secure with vice grips. Remove the cable and holding clip from the bracket. Remove the emergency brake pedal. Remove the heater air duct. Remove the heater assembly. Remove the accelerator pedal. If yours is a standard transmission, you should also remove the cover plate for the transmission. Remove the windshield frame. If it's rusted, you may have to drill out the bolts. Remove the hinges and bolts only from the body. Keep them attached to the windshield and remove them later only if you're not saving the frame. Remove the body mount bolts. Be prepared to chisel them out if they're not unboltable. Remove the body. You will need at least 4 strong people for this task. Do not dispose of the body until the project is fully completed. Inspect the frame, checking the chassis for cracks or corrosion. Inspect the brake line, the gas line and gas tank, and the frame itself. At this point, you should fix any cracks, sandblast the frame if you want, and repaint it if it's needed. Using cardboard, make a template of your body for the firewall holes. Each year's holes are in different locations, so there are no pre-drilled holes on our kit bodies. You will need to drill new holes from these templates to match your own body style. Install the 1 1/2 by 4 inch angle iron plate between the number 2 and number 3 mounts on each side. This plate is included in your optional body mounting kit. The steel body had nuts that came up through the cross members to the body. Your fiberglass body has wooden blocks built into it for these bolts. Installing the plate prevents drilling through the radius of the floor. You should measure from the existing mount 1 3/4 inches toward the rear of the vehicle on number 2 mount, and 1 3/4 inches toward the front on number 3 mount. Trace the holes from the template onto the body. Use a hole saw if one is available to save time. For the larger holes, drill a starter hole, then use a saber saw to cut out the rest of the hole. We recommend using metal cutting blades on all fiberglass portions. Install the hood hinges. Line up the hood with the body, then trace holes on the cowl. We offer an optional hood mounting kit to facilitate this process. Drill the holes, then install the hinges. Fit the attached plate that is included in the mounting kit underneath the cowl and bolt finger tight, then drill holes for the rivet. Pop rivet the plate to the cowl, then remove the bolts. Trace holes for the windshield hinges. Be sure that the hinge is flush with the top of the cowl. Drill the holes. Install the battery box to the firewall. Install the heater assembly to the firewall. Install the heater air duct to the firewall. We recommend that you seal the duct with silicone sealer to prevent leakage. The screws need to be countersunk and flush with the cowl. Install the new cowl vent. The factory vent will not fit, so you must use a replacement. We sell these depending upon your vehicle's year. Our replacement vent is made of stainless steel and is an optional add-on. Install the defroster duct into the fiberglass. If your vehicle is a 1976 model or newer, you must shorten the brake pedal assembly by cutting the end with a hacksaw. The fiberglass is thicker than the original steel. Be certain not to cut beyond the bolt holes. Now reattach the attaching plate by lining up the plate with the assembly and tracing the holes. Redrill and reattach. Fit the shortened brake assembly into the fiberglass. Fit the bolts that will hold the brake pedal into place on the fiberglass. Install the accelerator pedal. Mount the windshield frame to the fiberglass. Be certain that the windshield hinge is level with the cowl. Cut the mounting material using a miter box if one is available. You will need 4 mounts, each 2 inches long. They will be set onto number 2 and number 3 frame mounts. Once the mounts are in place, set the body onto the frame and line it up. This task will require at least 3 people. The fiberglass is much lighter than the steel body, but it is still cumbersome. The front needs to be even with the front body mount. Then measure the body for proper alignment. Drill number 2 and number 3 mount holes for the bolts to hold the body to the frame. Fasten the bolts snugly. Include large washers for added reinforcement. Measure for the rest of the mounts. Add 1/8 inch for the compression of the rubber. Go from front to rear. Now lift the body to insert the rubber mounts, then drill and add bolts. Secure snugly. Add the reinforcing plate for the clutch. This plate is also included in the optional mounting kit. Again, use the plate as a template and trace the outline for proper alignment. Measure for the rubber mounts, always adding at least 1/8 inch to allow for compression. Install the shifter plate. Add silicone sealer, then secure. Install the dash. Hook up the wires in an order reversed from the order in which you disconnected them. Run them over the top of the pedal assembly to prevent damage to the wires. Reinstall the brake pedal support plate. Hook up the heater cables starting with the electrical wiring for the heater switch, then the fuse block, and finally, the windshield wiper wires. If you have tagged or marked the wires, this will be an easy task. Install the dashboard. Here you can use the bolts from the old dash, but we recommend using nylon nuts with flat washers. Whenever possible, you should use large flat washers for extra reinforcement. Install the master brake cylinder. Install the master clutch if the vehicle uses a hydraulic cylinder. Install the steering column. It may have to be shimmed to fit correctly. It is a good idea to hook up the wiring before securing the column. Install the cover plate for the steering column. Install the plate for attaching the steering column to the firewall. Once the plate is secure, you can tighten the bolts for the column and secure the steering column. Install the dimmer switch. Install the emergency brake pedal to the dash by the extending bracket. Now you can lay out the optional grill. Use the old grill to cut a cardboard template, then trace the template holes onto the new grill. Install the front end. Be sure to line up the front end with the factory provided inserts. Line up the 1/8 inch thick metal reinforcing plate, another option that is provided in the mounting kit, with the frame, and drill and mark for holes. Make the plate flush with the bottom of the body. After the holes are drilled, lay the plate out on the fender, flush with the bottom and the inside lip. Mark the fender for holes. Drill the holes. Make them somewhat elongated to allow for adjustment. Use a die grinder bit and drill both sides. Mount the fender to the body with the reinforcing plate on the inside of the fender. Secure finger tight. Mount the hood and secure the hinges, making very sure that the hood is lined up correctly. Adjust the fenders so that there is a 1/4 inch gap between the fender and the hood. Adjust as needed. Install the mounting bracket for the grill. This piece is also included in the optional mounting kit. Do not secure at this point so that it can be adjusted. Line up the grill. If you are using your own grill, you will need to measure for holes. Make sure that the grill is level before securing. Drill 3 holes into the grill as close to the center of the grill as possible. Insert the bolts. Mount the grill and measure at the bottom for rubber spacer, then install the spacer. Line up the grill with the hood to be square. Drill the hole and bolt in place. Now mount the seats. Insert a 1-inch square metal plate to the mount on the driver's side. Again, use large flat washers for reinforcement. Line up the first hole with the number 2 mount. Use number 5 grade carriage bolts only. The passenger side does not require any modification before installing the seat, and you will use the number 2 mount also for lining up the first hole. Line up the seats, then drill the holes and lock the seats down. Also install the seat belts at this point, again using large flat washers to reinforce. Run the headlight wire and reconnect. Also reconnect the engine wire. Ground the windshield wiper bottle to the electronic ignition box or right to the horn. Ground the horn to the grill if it is steel. If the grill is fiberglass, run all the ground wires to a single point. Run a ground from the grill to the solenoid. Ground from the solenoid to the battery terminal ground on the engine block. Ground from the solenoid to the dash. If your vehicle is equipped with a voltage regulator, ground that also to the solenoid. As with all electric accessories, the windshield wiper motor must be grounded. Attach the ground wire from the motor to the dash. It will be necessary to make a template from your old grill to align the hood catch on the new grill. Lay the template on the new fiberglass grill. Mark the mounting holes and drill. If necessary, grind out the holes with a radial file or reamer. Install the catch. Use the hood catch from your old grill. If you are installing a fiberglass hood, you will need a bracket for the hood catch. This is included in the optional mounting kit. You must include this hood catch and not rely on the fender catches only. These fender mounted catches are not enough by themselves. Align the radiator flush with the top of the grill. Mark the holes and remove. With the optional installation kit, align the radiator support bracket with the holes already marked. Mark the bracket mounting holes and drill. Note that there are nuts welded on the bracket for easy installation. Mount the bracket first, then mount the radiator to the bracket. Since the fiberglass is thicker than metal, you will need 3/4 inch spacers to space the radiator away from the grill. These spacers are part of the radiator mounting kit. It is recommended that you have an assistant when installing the radiator to prevent unnecessary radiator damage. Reinstall the strut rods from the grill to the firewall. On fiberglass, either remove the mounting bracket from the old grill if it is in good, usable condition, or fabricate a new bracket. You may also install an optional roll bar. In this portion of the video, we will demonstrate the installation of a 4-point frame tie-in for the roll bar. Set the roll bar in place and trace holes. These holes are already drilled on steel bodies. Remove the roll bar and drill the holes. Set a flat plate underneath the body to mark holes for the bolts. Trace the holes and drill plate. Now to mount the roll bar. The mounting plate is longer than needed and may have to be cut to fit. It is a good idea to have the plate to reinforce the roll bar even if you do not use the roll bar tie-in assembly. The roll bar tie-in assembly consists of the support bracket, 2 J bars, 2 S bars, and the mounting plate. This optional tie-in assembly is designed for a 1976 or newer CJ. Other models are available. The support bracket is a 1/4 inch plate bent at a right angle. Tack the bracket in place, then weld to the frame. This procedure should be done by an experienced or certified welder. Install the mounting plate by bolting it to the roll bar. Grade number 5 bolts are recommended. The S bar is to be mounted at the front. It is longer than necessary and must be cut to fit. Tack first and then weld it into place. The J bar is to be mounted at the rear. It is also longer and will need to be cut to fit. Be sure there's adequate tire clearance. Tack the J bar to the outer side of the frame and the top of the J bar to the top bracket plate. Then weld in place. As a note of caution, this area is near the fuel tank. Please take or have your certified welder take all necessary precautions when welding near the fuel tank. Repeat this procedure on the opposite side. Loosen the interior windshield hinge. Set the top on the body. The one shown is a factory CJ7 hardtop for a 1980 or newer CJ7. Be sure the top is properly seated on the windshield frame. If you're using your old windshield frame, it should line up with the original holes without any adjustments. Once the top is aligned, install the screws to secure the front of the top to the windshield frame. Now, align the rear edge of the top with the edge of the body. Proper fit will have the inside lip seated against the inside edge of the body. Drill the holes. It will be necessary to grind a notch in the inner wall of the fiberglass body to allow space for the factory nut. We recommend that you use grade number 5, 5/16 inch bolts to mount the top. The length of the bolt will vary due to the thickness of the fiberglass. Tighten all the bolts snugly until all are in place, then tighten firmly. Once the top is secure, install the doors. The upper hinge is part of the windshield hinge. Align the lower hinge and install it. Door hinges are adjustable, and you may have to adjust its position to give a snug fit to the new body. Once the door is installed and correctly aligned, tighten the interior windshield hinges. To mount the door striker assembly for the factory CJ7 hardtop, you will need our door striker assembly bracket. This is an optional kit designed to hold the factory door striker assembly. Bolt your door striker assembly to the mounting bracket. Close the door and line up the bracket. Then cut a hole into the inner wall of the body for the bracket to fit. Use the bracket to mark hole positions onto the body. Drill a 7/16 inch hole for the 2 jack nuts and install them. Bolt the bracket snugly into place. Remove the factory striker assembly. Drill the 2 front holes with a 1/8 inch drill bit for proper location. Remove the striker bracket and drill the front holes with a 9/32 inch drill bit. Remount and use Loctite thread locker on the front bolts only. Reinstall the factory striker assembly, close the door, and check for proper alignment. The striker pin may have to be shimmed out for a proper fit. The hardtop installation is now completed. The time required for installing your new fiberglass body will depend both on your skill and the condition of your vehicle. The workers you have watched throughout this presentation are experienced experts, and the demonstration vehicle's frame did not need extensive repairs. This is a job that requires knowledge and patience, but as you can see here, the result is well worth the effort. We have taken a Jeep ready for the junk heap and converted it into a safe, attractive vehicle which will provide its owner with plenty of fun and dependable transportation for many years. At 4-Wheel Drive Hardware, we wish you the same good fortune.